Welcome into Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Coming up on today's show, NFL head coach predictions. There are 6 open jobs after the Dallas Cowboys have parted ways with Mike McCarthy. There were initially 6, then there were 5. Now they're back up to 6. Some of the jockeying there is it went from 6 to 5 when the Patriots hired Mike Vrabel, as they wasted no time to bring him in. That was the first domino to fall. Then Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys, they all decided to part ways. So Dallas reopened, and now we're back up to 6 head coaching openings. So we're going to go through them, kind of discuss the latest, some names being linked there, and I will give a prediction for who is going to land that job. All right, let's get 6,000 subs on the channel. We're at 5,766 subscribers. If you love the NFL, if you want to stay on top of the latest news and get my opinions and analysis on everything surrounding this league with the NFL playoffs, with the coaching carousel, free agency, the draft, full offseason coverage ahead, probably do a mock draft at some point. For stay tuned for that. Also, college football coverage. We got the national championship coming up. That'll probably slow down a little bit, the college content, once the natty is over with, but we'll work that back in when it's relevant. We got you covered. Daily content here on the channel. Support us. We appreciate it. It's 100% free. Hit that subscribe button. Easiest way to support. Okay, let's start with the Saints. And I think the Mike McCarthy thing is gaining steam. I do think he's going to get a job. I think he felt confident he would get a job, which is part of the reason him and the Cowboys parted ways, because I think he looked at that situation and said, yeah, I could probably work out some sort of deal to come back, but if we don't make the playoffs next year, I might just be fired after 1 year. So why don't I just go somewhere else where I'm going to get a longer runway, where I'm going to get a fresh opportunity? At minimum, they would give me 2 years before potential firing, because most teams don't go one and done, although there's been a few recently. I don't think a guy like Mike McCarthy would be one and done with his resume. Bears and Saints are interested. I wonder if the Jets will jump in as well. And quite frankly, for all 3 of those franchises, he'd be a very good hire. But the reason I'm going to go Saints here is not because I think he would necessarily pick the Saints over the Bears. Probably would pick them over the Jets. But I think it's more so that he interviews with the Bears tomorrow. Even if that goes really well, the Bears could look at this and say, hey, Mike McCarthy is our number 2 option behind Ben Johnson. But if the Lions keep winning, the Bears might say, hey, Mike, we're going to wait this out with Johnson. We want to see if we can get him. McCarthy might say, well, I don't want to risk not getting the job, so I will take this job. I could see that taking place. That happens sometimes in these cycles where candidate is plan B for someone else, but plan A for someone else. He might like the job of plan B more, but the security and guarantee of getting a job is already available elsewhere. I could see that playing out here because Ben Johnson is not in the mix in New Orleans. So as of now, he's scheduled to meet with the Bears on Wednesday, the Saints early next week. Those are the latest reports. So Mike McCarthy to New Orleans would bring stability, would bring an offensive mindset, and quite frankly, his resume compared to Sean Payton, who's easily the best coach in franchise history, not that different. Both have won Super Bowl. Both are offensive minds. Both work well with quarterbacks. I would give the edge to Sean Payton. I think he's a little bit more of an innovator with his offense, but to act like Mike McCarthy isn't a good coach isn't true. I think he'd be an excellent hire for New Orleans or Chicago or the Jets. I think whoever gets him is getting a pretty damn good coach. So I'll go New Orleans for now, but it could definitely be Chicago. It sounds like there's real momentum there. Okay, the New York Jets with Aaron Glenn. He's been linked to the Saints and the Jets, and if the Saints decide to go offense, decide to go McCarthy, I think if you're the Jets, if you can get Aaron Glenn, that feels like a home run for their situation. He is a no-nonsense guy. He played for the Jets. He's been an assistant coach, I believe, before for the Jets. He's done a hell of a job with Detroit. He's kind of known for the Dan Campbell style, kind of rah-rah leader type, but also being a smart defensive guy. I think that would make a lot of sense. He's built up calluses. He's got skins on the wall now, bouncing around from different places. I think it's a very real possibility. Now, they've casted a wide net. They've interviewed guys from Rex Ryan to Mike Locksley to Aaron Glenn to Joe Brady. They interviewed Mike Vrabel. Were unable to get him, obviously. I think Glenn to the Saints or to the Jets, and probably the Jets if Mike McCarthy ends up in New Orleans, feels like where his situation is likely headed. Okay, the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, the Deion Sanders chatter emerged last night. He and Jerry Jones have talked. I think when the dust settles, Kellen Moore ends up getting this job. Now, if Deion 100% wants it, he has a real shot at it, I would say. But Jerry Jones historically does not cast wide nets. They don't do exhaustive searches. I don't think that'll change here. I think he's going to have a list of 3 to 5 guys. I think Deion's on it. I think Kellen Moore's on it. I could see Cliff Kingsbury being on it. Dark horse that would be ridiculous and insane, but wouldn't shock me, would be Jason Witten, who's a high school coach in the Dallas area. He obviously has a lot of respect for him, and that's mutual between Witten and Jerry Jones. Maybe there's one or two others, but when they hired Mike McCarthy, that was the search. It was Mike McCarthy, and then they Rooney ruled Marvin Lewis and somebody else. That is how they ended up with McCarthy. So I think it's 2 or 3 guys. He has a lot of respect for Kellen. You've got the relationship and offensive familiarity there with Dak Prescott. You could probably convince Mike Zimmer to stay on staff as DC. I'll say this. If Deion Sanders is the head coach, Zimmer is a lock to be the DC. Him and Deion are very close. Deion played under him when he was a DB's coach in Dallas back in the 90s, so keep an eye on that. But I'll go Kellen Moore here. It would not shock me, though, if prime time ends up in Dallas. Okay, the Chicago Bears. I will go Ben Johnson for now. I think they're the slight leader in the clubhouse over the Raiders, but I do think the Raiders thing is real. I don't think Jacksonville is going to end up getting him. I think it's way too early to tell on Johnson because he did his initial interviews, and he's full steam ahead with Detroit. If they go on a deep playoff run, nothing's going to be finalized for weeks there. If they win this weekend against Washington, the earliest teams can talk to Ben Johnson is Monday, January 27th. Either after they lose the NFC Championship or after they win it and are preparing for the Super Bowl, because you have that week off before Super Bowl week, so teams can talk to Johnson again then right there. Again, a lot of this could be a timing game. Teams get impatient. If I were the Bears, I would wait it out on Johnson. If I felt like I had a good opportunity to get him, I think he's worth waiting for. Maybe they'll go full steam ahead with McCarthy. I'm not sure. But I think for now they're the slight favorite on Johnson, but I think the Raiders thing is real, and that is something to monitor. Speaking of the Raiders, I think their plan B is Pete Carroll if they can't get Ben Johnson. They're full steam ahead. Tom Brady, who's somehow allowed to call games for Fox, and including the Lions game this weekend, and run the Raiders search as a minority owner, which all feels crazy and borderline collusion. We'll see if the NFL addresses that long term. But they're trying to get Ben Johnson, but if they can't, Pete Carroll feels like their plan B. They hired a guy to help them with their search who helped, I think his name's Jed Hughes. He helped the Seahawks hire Pete Carroll back in the day, so there's a relationship there. Carroll is just a high floor level coach, and the Raiders could use that because they have had some embarrassing situations recently. Antonio Pierce is not an NFL head coach. Josh McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator, cannot command a room. Pete Carroll will bring positivity, leadership, and energy into that organization. So if they can't get the young hotshot in Ben Johnson, I think Pete Carroll's the guy, and it would not shock me if that's where this ended up going. And quite frankly, I think it would be a good move for the Raiders. They tried to go with the sexy hire with John Gruden, and they were having okay results, but obviously that flamed out with the email situation. Pete Carroll's not a long-term solution, but he's more than a Band-Aid. He would be a solid option for the Raiders in a division with really good coaches and really good teams. Okay, lastly is Jacksonville. I think they're holding out hope on Ben Johnson, but I don't think that's realistic as long as Trent Baalke's the GM. To me, I'm going either Liam Coen or Joe Brady. Offensive guy. Maybe Todd Monken would be in the mix there. I'm not sure. But Liam Coen, who's just a few hours away in Tampa, has done a great thing with Baker Mayfield getting that offense going. I like that McVay-style system, and I think it would benefit Trevor Lawrence. They got to jumpstart Trevor Lawrence. Like that's what they have to do. And Coen does a really good job of establishing the run game and then marrying the run game with the pass. They need to get more consistency on the ground in Jacksonville as well. I think that'll take the burden off of Trevor Lawrence. I think it'd be a good hire. Obviously, he's not as experienced as a Ben Johnson at the NFL level as a play caller, but he's in that conversation for the hotshot offensive guy, first-time head coach after Ben Johnson. Like, he's in the mix to be that next guy. I mean, you could argue it's Todd Monken. You could argue it's Joe Brady. It's one of those three guys, but Coen's not far away. He's in Tampa. It just seems like a good fit. It seems like a good fit. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Four Verts. Let's keep it rolling. We're going to keep pumping out content. We appreciate all the subscribers we've gotten already. If you haven't, join the family. Hit that sub button. My name is Harrison Graham. See you guys soon.